why hasn't the Wilder Joshua fight, been cemented yet? Why has it taken this long to happen?
I think there's multiple reasons. I mean, look, I think Wilder's done a great job of using Joshua's name to improve his profile in the last couple of months. I don't blame him for that. It's worked, unquestionably. You have a guy there who is one of, certainly in his position, I call him the lowest paid heavyweight world champion of all time. So you have a very, I say bitter person, but someone who looks at Anthony Joshua and thinks, how's this guy making 10 times what I'm making per fight? Yet he accuses us of being bad promoters, whatever. And you've got a guy who, in a small little pond like the UK, 5 times smaller than minimum than the US, is making 10 times more money per fight than big old Deontay Wilder. When you get a fight of this magnitude, there's so many different elements that play into the negotiations. I think one of the problems is he has 3 managers. One is Al Heyman, doesn't have an email, very smart guy. One is Shirley Winkle. Again, he's very, very old, and I have no problem with old people. My father is one of them. That's why I let him talk to him. And one is Jay Diaz, who's the trainer and long-time manager of Deontay Wilder. So things have to go in this humongous circle of these 3 people who I don't think particularly like each other anyway, to try and make some progression. So we started off, and the chronology of this is quite straightforward, actually. We've been talking to these guys for, 6, 7, 8 months about this fight. And we first made them an offer. And I don't like talking about money, but it's all out there now, so I don't have no problem saying it. For $12.5 million to fight Anthony Joshua in the UK. Now, we always appreciated that there's more money for this fight in the US. But I feel that with what Joshua has done in the UK, with what the fans have done in terms of supporting him, and the history and the legacy that this fight can create, this is where we wanted to do it, in the UK. So we offered them $12.5 million. Probably represented about 30% of the pot, I would say. They didn't turn it down, they didn't respond. Okay. So Joshua did an interview, kind of tongue-in-cheek, saying that they said this fight's worth $100 million. Give me $50 million, I'll fight you. Probably the worst thing you should have done. And they come back and said, all right. So Deontay Wilder sent him an email and said, I will give you $50 million for this fight. So he said, that's unique, an offer from a fighter. No disrespect to Deontay Wilder, he certainly doesn't have $50 million. So we came back and we said, I was actually in New York. I said, I'm very interested. Can we meet to discuss? This was to Shelley. And Shelley said, you have to accept the fight first. I said, well, we're interested. That should be enough for you. But I need to know a lot more about this offer. I can't commit someone like Anthony Joshua to an offer like this without knowing the details. We feel a meeting would be non-productive, this is what he said, and you need to accept the offer first. So I thought, that's bizarre. How can you not want to talk about an offer of $50 million? So I spoke to Anthony about it, and we all agreed, this is of interest. We'd like to see the contract. So I went back to them and said, we'd like to see the contract. Now, there's this big thing about proof of funds. Now, and of course, I would have asked for proof of funds if we would have even got that far. People say they provided proof of funds. It's absolute bullshit. They didn't provide anything, not even a contract. So they answered a couple of questions. It would be in the US, etc., etc. But I said, we need to see a contract. We're not sending you a contract till you accept this fight. I said, well, I'm not accepting the fight because what they want you to do is publicly accept the fight. And then once things progress, it breaks down, you look bad. So I don't want to accept a fight until I see the contract. We're not sending you a contract. Okay, fair enough. In the weeks after that, we spoke to the training team and Anthony, and it was decided, look, we want to make a play for this fight in the UK. This is where this fight should be, we believe. So I went back to Deontay Wilder and we offered him an improved offer of $15 million. Probably like nearly 7 times his highest purse so far, 6 times. And we didn't hear from him for nearly a month. In that month, quite a lot had happened with Povetkin, who's obviously our mandatory. Povetkin mandatory got called over 2 months ago by the WBA. And for those who don't know that, they send you a letter and say, you have 28 days to negotiate, then we're going to purse bids. Since that negotiation period was over, we've asked for probably 6 or 7 extensions to that period, trying to make the Wilder fight. So that's the history of the WBA. So a month after our offer nearly, they came back and said, we accept the 15 million and our terms, which we put in the email, 5 or 6 of the key points. We accept your terms and the offer. Can we have a contract? This was on like a Monday or something like that. So I said, no problem. I'll have the contract with you by Friday. A lot has changed. We've lost venues. Canelo Golovkin's been announced. So we can't do Wilder Joshua in September because the US broadcast don't want to spend as much money. Could it be the week after Canelo? But we're working now in October, November. We'll come back to it. On Friday, I hadn't quite finished the contract. So I emailed Shirley and said, it'll be with you on Monday. He said, no problem. Take your time. So I sent it on Monday. I also said to him, as you know, seen by the media, working on a date, October, November. November was a problem with Cardiff. There's only one place to hold it in the UK. Cardiff is the only indoor arena, 80,000 for our last 2 fights have been. So we sent that on Monday. On the, I think, Thursday or Friday, he came back and says, oh, obviously they knew we were working on a date, but can you confirm that it's Joshua's next fight? So I said, yes, I can confirm it's Joshua's next fight. Then on the Sunday, they sent another email to say, we'll be back with a contract on Friday, which was a further 6 days. So it's nearly 2 weeks from when we sent it. They knew at the same time the WBA was crushing us every day and we were putting them off every day. So for me, it was a stalling tactic to delay the inevitable. So then he came out in the media on Monday, Shirley, and said, we've got our comments on the contract. It's only 2 minor points. We'll be back to them on Friday. And it's like, so you know the comments already, but you want to wait another 5 days to send them. Why is that? And you want to make this fight so badly? So the WBA, I think, saw that interview with Dan Raphael and said, you said, like, today it'll be done. Yesterday it'll be done. Now he's saying he'll come back with his comments on Friday. Enough's enough. The Povetkin fight has to happen next. Please send us the signed contracts. So that's parked up on the side. There's always a lot of he said, she said, who was in the right, who was in the wrong. You can always believe what you want to believe. I think that Wilder and Showtime have launched this propaganda mission to make Wilder credible. That in the 41 fights that he's had, he has never had a significant fight outside of Luis Ortiz, a guy who probably an hour before the fight had not been passed by the doctors because of high blood pressure. This guy is old, okay? So they try and fool and trick the fans that, oh, I can't believe this has happened again. All we ever do is want these big unification fights and no one will fight us. They swerved and they ducked Vladimir Klitschko for many, many years. In fact, there's an article from Shelley when Wilder had, I think, 34 fights. And Shelley says, oh, no, he's not ready for Klitschko yet. You know, he's got a long... You're talking about Anthony Joshua, who after 22 fights would have boxed Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, Dominic Brazil, Carlos Takam, and Alexander Povetkin, and Dillian White. Okay? When Joshua boxed Vladimir Klitschko, he was number 1 in the Ring Magazine ratings. When Joshua boxed Joseph Parker, he was number 3. Now he's boxing Povetkin, who is number 3 in the Ring Magazine ratings. Number 6 is Dillian White. He's beat him already. Number 7 is Brazil. He's beat him already. He's beaten already 5 people in the top 10 of the Ring Magazine rankings. You cannot ever question Anthony Joshua's desire to fight the best. Look at the resumes. The resumes don't lie. So whether you think I'm lying, whether you think Shirley's lying, whether you think Wilder's lying, whether you think Joshua's blown, look at the facts, look at the proof. Joshua steps up and fights the best time and time again. Wilder does not. The other facts you need to take into consideration are, if they wanted this fight so bad, why did they wait 2 weeks nearly to come back with any comments? Yet they already knew them, apparently. And the other factual point, which is so important, is this contract is still live. Nothing's changed. This is the deal that you accepted. That offer still stands. Apparently they said there was two two things they weren't happy with. Number one was the rematch situation, which they'd already agreed in writing to within the terms, which they said they're going to concede to publicly. And the other one was the date, saying, we just needed to know the date. Well, I'm telling you the date. It's April the 13th, Wembley Stadium in the UK. So sign the contract. So all these people debating, he did this, he did that. Just ask yourself one question. Sign the contract or come back with your comments. This fight has to happen for the fans. So we're going through that process now. So now he turns around and says, I'm not taking that fight. It's 50-50 or nothing. Where's that come from? You've got a contract to sign. If you want this fight so bad, if you're so desperate, if you're so avoided in the world of boxing, it's there. You've agreed it already, all the terms. Just sign the contract. He won't want to because he's bluffing. He doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua. His team doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua. He's never fought anyone of the danger of Anthony Joshua. He never fought Klitschko. He never fought Joseph Parker. He fought Ortiz because it worked out well in the grand scheme of things. Now he goes back to fighting for a couple of $1 million against Brazil or maybe a rematch of Ortiz. But watch what happens now. Don't be surprised if they try and trick the public with one of those pay-per-views which we talked about earlier for $70, $100, even with Brazil or with Ortiz, because you've got a guy in Deontay Wilder now who has to question the people that are looking at, why is this guy in England making all this money for his fights and I'm over here making $2.5 million, $3 million a fight? So now he's going to go to those same people and say, how much are you paying me for the next one? Because I've already made him an offer of $5 million for his next fight. So we'll see. It's really interesting. But the key that the fans have to know is why stall on the contract for so long? But also, whatever you think of everything that's happened, let's just focus on the now. Let's just focus on trying to make this fight for US fight fans, worldwide fight fans. It's there.